Hey there, I'm Jama, and over the past few years, I've become very interested in onomatology, the study of names. I've never really liked my name until I researched the meaning of it. My name means paradigm shifter, and I'd like to shift your paradigm by shining a light on onomatology and how it can potentially help you find your purpose, help you communicate better with others, or even both. In each episode, I ask someone 8 basic questions regarding their first name. So sit back, relax, and try to shift your paradigm with this next episode. Welcome to this new episode. I'm excited to interview these two people. This is the first time I'm interviewing two people in the same episode, and I'm very excited. It's a father-daughter duo, and so welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. And if you want, just before we dive into the questions, if you want to just give the listeners a little bit of information about yourself, where you're podcasting from, that'd be great.
Yep, I'm Shira Swanson, and I am in Wisconsin, very southeast corner of Wisconsin. So about an hour, a little bit more than an hour north of Chicago.
Awesome.
And I'm Paul Yekel, Shira's father, same area, slightly east of where she lives in Wisconsin. Um, Grew up around Lake Michigan and formed some of my uh, early thinking about the world because of that.
Awesome. Great. And Shira tells me that you have some interest in onomatology. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, very much.
Great. Awesome. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you both.
Yeah. So and we'll get into more obviously as a conversation, but I grew up, my earliest memories of my dad talking about my name, talking about all of my siblings' names. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, talking about why our names were chosen, what they mean, different spellings, different languages. My dad has studied different languages, probably your whole adult life.
Oh, yeah.
And so definitely dives a little deeper into the history of things. And so this has been my whole life. And I did not know there was a podcast about it.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite hobbies, passions in life, just understanding the meaning of names. And I have quite a few theories about the significance behind the meaning of names. And I'm trying to prove some of those theories with collecting data and interviewing. I think this is you guys are probably 121 and 122 of interviewing. So I'm starting to get a little bit more data, which is great.
Funny. Great.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and just jump into the first question. And when I ask these questions, I'm going to first let Shira answer, and then we'll move it over to Paul to answer. So the first question is without using Google, I'm pretty sure I know the answer. And prior to me asking you these questions, did you know the meaning of your name? And if so, what does it mean?
So I get asked this quite often. So I kind of summarized it, and I fear that I maybe don't describe it well, but I always say that it just means poetic song in Hebrew. I feel like that kind of summarizes it better, but I think there's more to it than that. Um, but I always just say poetic song.
Okay. And Paul?
Yes. Uh, I've I've wanted to know the meaning of my name for as long as I can remember. Uh, Paul actually means small or humble. It's a Latin name, uh, but I was actually named Paul because of the Apostle Paul, the, um, from the New Testament,
Mhm.
and uh, I found out fairly early that his name was actually the Gentile name or the Latin name uh, that his parents gave him when they also gave him the Hebrew name Shaul, um, which I can't remember the meaning of, but um,
Mhm.
anyway, so I knew that I was always small and humble, and I find that it shaped some of my behavior that way. But my
Hmm.
middle name actually is Lothar, which is a German name, kind of a throwback to way back the Charlemagne era.
Before I continue with this episode, here's a quick word from our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by the Intentional Leader Network. If you're ready to grow as a leader but don't want to do it alone, this is for you. As a member of this virtual leadership network, I feel more confident in my leadership abilities and have skills I can draw from as I continue to grow in my leadership roles. If you are looking to grow intentionally in your leadership skills, I encourage you to subscribe and grow alongside me and a wonderful community of leaders. To join, check out the link in the show notes and start leading more intentionally today.
It was one of his grandsons, and it means boastful warrior.
Oh,
And
wow.
Lothar was the grandson that carved his empire through most of Europe, taking over the industrial base of the empire that Charlemagne had um, initially gained for himself.
So
Wow.
quiet, humble, boastful warrior, or maybe
Well,
a balance, a balance of all.
Yeah, great balance. How do you spell your middle name?
Lothar.
Okay. I've
And it's
never heard
actually
that. I like that.
it's interesting because it's two words. It's Lot, and Har, which we see in Harold and other names like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I like that. Thank you for sharing that. And so I take it, do you both, Shira, do you like the meaning of your name?
I do, yeah. I heard, and I always make sure that I'm not um, mixing memories in my brain, but I heard that my name in Hebrew or Song of Solomon in
Mhm.
Hebrew is Shirah Shiri.
It's Shir Hashirim.
Shirah Shirin, yeah. So once I kind of heard that it was kind of poetic song, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Um, my middle name is Anne, and so it's so simple. And so growing up, when people would ask over and over, "Oh, how do you say your name?" and "How do you spell it?" and they'd get it wrong and whatever, I'm like, "Oh, I should switch. I should have Anne as my first name and then Sheer as my middle name." But now that I'm older and it's so unique, and
Hmm.
I've decided to keep it. But people are like, "So your middle name is Anne and then your first name?" So I do. I like it. I appreciate it now that I'm older.
Yeah,
Interesting.
same with me because my middle name Lynn was so simple and I
Yeah.
debated on going by Lynn and then I like it as I got older.
Mhm.
The interesting thing about Anne is that it's actually from the Hebrew word chana, which has to do with grace, or I think it's like a graceful person, someone who extends themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah, my mom, who is the Google queen, just walked over here with her tablet and she looked up Shira, and Shira is extremely popular over in Israel. And so I heard that, and I would always remind my parents, yes, but we're in America. We're not
Yeah.
in Israel, but I like it now more.
Yeah, gotcha. And Paul, do you like the meaning of your name?
Yes, I do. I've always liked the meaning of Paul. Um, I had no problem with it. Matter of fact, it kind of put me on a quest to discover more of um, why Paul is so important in the New Testament, and
Hmm.
drew me into the Judaism of the Second Temple period. But I was always embarrassed about my middle name until in my 50s. And um, once I realized that was boastful warrior, I saw that as a spiritual um, goal, a spiritual um, direction or vector,
Mm,
and I've been enjoying it ever since.
I love that. That's actually one of my theories is that the meaning of your name could be like a goal that you strive towards in
Yeah.
terms of your purpose. So that's neat. I like that. Well, before we get to question three, I did want to share a little bit more about what I found in the meaning of both of your names. Because what I like to do is not only do I like to look up the meaning, but I also like to look up the symbolism of the words that are in the definition. And I thought this was interesting. So, you're both what you told me in terms of the definition of your name is accurate. But yeah, Shira derives from Hebrew. It means song or poem. And I looked up the symbolism of the word song. And the symbolism, there were quite a few neat explanations. The symbolism of a song is complex emotions, stories, melody, rhythm, and expression of beauty. So I'm
Hmm.
just curious after hearing that, like, what are your thoughts of the symbolism?
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I always just think of a song as just a song you sing, and it could
Hmm.
be a nice song, could be, you know, any kind of song. But yeah, I like that those deeper words better than just
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. Okay.
I like
Great.
that.
When I think of her name, it reminds me of Miriam after they had crossed the Gulf of Aqaba and had the tremendous victory to seeing the Egyptian army canceled and eliminated, and she led the Israelites, especially the women, in song. It was same word, of course, Shira.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. All right. And Paul, for yours, so yes, Latin meaning small or humble. And I looked up the symbolism for the word humble, and I found open to learning, recognizing limitations, and teachability. So I'm just curious about what your thoughts are on that.
Well, it's something I've always wanted to be, to strive for. Later in life, I came to the startling conclusion that God was by nature a humble being.
Mm,
He hates pride because he himself is humble,
mm,
and he loves humility in others. And so I have resisted the proud in the same way that it talks about God resisting the proud. And I see so much of humanity being destroyed by it. And so, not just the humility, but teachability. I am a constant student.
mm,
I want to learn, and I'm constantly finding out that my understanding has been inadequate in any number of areas, and I'm delighted when I find out that there's so much more to what I thought I knew.
Yeah. I
yeah.
think it's very accurate for you. He's always wanting to learn, always wanting to
Mm,
research.
I
Hmm.
love that. That's great. All right. We'll move on to the next question, which is how did your parents choose your name?
I'll tell my version. So my mom wanted 4 kids and my dad wanted 6 kids. So when I number 5 came along, my mom was like, Paul, you decide whatever name you want. And he liked the name Shira. So that's how my name came about. But I'm sure the story is different than how I paraphrase it.
Yeah.
Well, I had heard someone, a named Shira. She's called Carol in English, of course, but she was living in Israel and took the name Shira as the typical uh, translation. Um, I liked it so much that I don't know if I convinced my wife um, to name her that. I don't remember exactly how. It just happened very easily. It was not a
Mm,
big fight.
okay.
For myself, I can't give you very, very clear, um, itemized kind of path of why I was named Paul. I know that my mom uh, really wanted me to have the name Paul. And I'm sure my dad was okay with it too. There were six in our family, actually seven. One died in early childhood,
Mm.
but each of us was named quite differently. And at the time, in German areas in Europe, where I was born, old names had become quite the thing. A lot of looking back at history and naming people for characters that were known way back when. And so choosing my middle name was not a surprise. That they grabbed a name that was from Charlemagne's era. So as far as I know, that's what happened.
Okay, great. Have you ever had the thought cross your mind, I wish I had a different name?
I have. I always thought that if I had a very simple name that's very common, things would be easier
Hmm.
somehow in my life. Like um, people would be able to say it better, remember it better, spell it better. But now that I'm older, I really, I see even names that are really common spelled differently. And so I don't think it would really make a difference. Growing up, I was always like, I just want something very simple. Um, and surprisingly enough, my closest friends all have, or a lot of my close friends have very uncommon names. So when we would actually go on vacation or something together and people would ask what our names are, we would actually make up fake normal names because
Yeah.
every single one of us would have to like say our name multiple times and whatever. I don't remember though what name I would use. I think Sarah, maybe. I would just say Sarah.
Hmm.
Um, but now that I'm older, it's, and all the names I see out there, it's like, no, I don't really think would, I don't think I have a name that I would prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that with each of our daughters, I would suggest Anastasia because I like the sound of the name,
Mhm.
and it means resurrection
Mm, that's
in Greek.
beautiful.
And so I suggested each time, and each time it was voted down by her mother, my wife.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Okay.
I think Anastasia is really pretty too. I was actually thinking of naming my daughter Anastasia, and my husband voted that down. So I don't know if anybody in our family will ever be named Anastasia.
It's a beautiful name. Now I want to interview somebody with that name.
Well, the funny part about it is that nobody would say Anastasia. It would be shortened to either Anna or
Mm,
Stacy.
yeah.
And my wife did not want either one of those as the normal, the common name for our daughters. So
Hmm.
voted down.
Yeah, none of us have like shortened like nicknames or we're all called our full name, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so that's definitely something that has always stuck with us throughout the years. Just our full name. Everybody
Hmm.
says it.
Now,
Okay.
I never thought of having a different name. I considered if I ever went into hiding to find find a name that didn't connect with anything that would be known about me, but I never took it seriously.
Hmm.
Um, the Lothar part didn't thrill me, but I never thought I would want to legally change it or find an alternative. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I use his middle name as a lot of my security questions
Yeah.
with electronics because nobody would ever, no
Yes.
scammer would ever be able to guess that.
Right.
So that's what is your dad's middle name? And I use
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. That's great. Well, and if you were forced to change your first name, you had to. Is there a name that you really like that you would change it to?
Should have thought about this more
I know,
before.
I've never even considered it.
Yeah.
What, one of the names that, is kind of a common exchange or closely related to Paul is Peter.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow, using Peter might be an alternative, if I needed to, but
Mm-hmm.
I have no inclination towards it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that's a common association.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of people that I interview say that they would go with their middle name just because I think a lot of people just still that's a part of them and they're more comfortable with it and familiar.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say they wouldn't change their name. That can be an answer too. So
Yeah. I would probably I kind of thought that like, oh, maybe I would just go with my middle name. But now because I've had such a unique name, I don't think I could go that simple. So just thinking about it now, the name like Sabrina popped in my head where it's like you've heard of it before. I think it's really pretty, but it's not super common where a lot of people have it. I mean,
yeah.
who knows? Maybe a lot of people do, but that name popped in my head, but who knows? I
Oh,
had a name in French class, so Solange.
oh.
And I always thought that I picked it because it was so pretty, but
Mhm.
people wouldn't be able to say that one either or spell it.
What, what, what was the ghetto name that you always threw around?
Oh, Shakira. No, not Shakira. Oh, what was it?
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes my friends would goof around and they'd call me something. Um, now I can't think of it.
Yeah. We actually found someone with that name. Yes. Kind of offbeat.
Shaniqua.
Shaniqua.
Shaniqua. That's what it was. I would not change my name to Shaniqua, but that is something that people will call me sometimes when they're goofing around.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But I'm pretty sure I can guess the answer for at least Shira. But has your name ever been mispronounced? And if so, what did you feel? Like what kind of emotions did you feel when your name was mispronounced?
So now I really don't mind. It happens all the time. So when I'm introducing myself or whatever, and people say it wrong and so now I've gotten so used to it. When I was younger, I would kind of get irritated or offended. Um,
Mm.
but um,
How about the Shira era?
yeah, Shira, um, people will call me the wine. What is it, Shiraz? Like they'll just read however. So, but now it's so common, and I get it. If there's a name that I've never seen before or haven't really heard of, I'll say it wrong too, and it's not offensive. People are trying to get it right. Um, but yeah, now I don't care. When I was younger, I would care, but now I find myself I don't even listen to it, and maybe this is a
Hmm.
difference. If somebody just is talking to me, and if they say something with an S sound or an SH sound, I respond to it. And then people say, "Oh, did I say that correctly?" And I realize now I don't even listen
Hmm.
to what they said. I'll
Mm.
be like, "Oh, repeat it," because I don't even, and maybe that's
Difference.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's a mechanism. I don't care anymore because I don't even listen. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying for sure.
Mhm.
And Paul, has your name ever been mispronounced?
Well, not mispronounced. Um, for me, it's always been obvious. Anybody who saw my name, heard my name, would automatically use Paul very, very simply.
Hmm.
But when my sister and brother-in-law came from New Jersey, and I think when I met his mother, um, she would say my name, Wall.
Mm.
So somehow there's a U beginning the vowel sequence there. Uh,
Hmm.
and I didn't mind that. To me, it was kind of delightful to hear another accent, another way of saying things. So no offense there. It was the Lothar part, the Lothar.
Okay.
That concerned me because people would say Luther, and and um, kids, of course, tend to be um, snide or bullyish with uh, pronouncing, well, not pronouncing, but using names as a way of mocking, mocking, or teasing. But I didn't get much of that because I didn't let very many people know.
Yeah.
I wonder if in other cultures, like the name Raoul is spelled Raul, and
Yeah,
they'll say Raoul, but
yeah.
Paul is, wouldn't be Paul.
Well,
I wonder if that's the,
originally
yeah.
in Latin, it was Paulus,
Mhm.
um,
Hmm.
spelled with the US at the end, or OS in Greek. So, um, but I think it was almost a diphthong, like uh, shoving two vowel sounds together,
Mhm.
where we get oi with oi, a u, ow, would give you Paul, which is actually the pronunciation in German, Paul.
Hmm.
Mm.
Uh, we would normally put OW as ow, but so
Yeah.
that wouldn't have offended me either. Somebody calling me Paul or Paulus or
Mhm.
Mhm.
whatever.
Okay. Great. Second to last question. We're almost there. So this is my favorite question out of all of them. And I know you guys kind of talked about it a little bit near the beginning of this conversation, but I'd love to hear more. So, do you think that the meaning of your name has any relevance whatsoever on the way that you act or the way that you see the world around you? And if so, how?
So what's interesting is out of all of my siblings, I feel like I'm the least musical. So growing up, I always thought, but my name means, song, but yet I mean, I'll listen to music and I like it and I'll sing a little bit. And, I took a couple years of piano and whatever, but my siblings love music. So I always thought that that was strange, that that's what my name
Hmm.
means. But I have to say, when you said the deeper meanings, when you were kind of describing what song is, I identify more with those than with the word song. So maybe I just
Interesting.
never had that deeper, or maybe I didn't remember the deeper meaning of it. So now
Yeah.
I feel like, oh, maybe I should like think more about those meanings instead of just song. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never. Um, I keep thinking of your name. Um, I I've always thought in terms of poetry as well as music, and of course I really enjoy music. But I've come to see the power of poetry, and
Mm.
there's um, an ability to describe things using poetry, and that um, just totally outclasses prose when it's well done, when it's crafted properly. So that's not a not a characteristic to think lightly of. But for myself, um, I have. I'm not sure if I could consciously uh, remember anything from my childhood, but it seems as I was becoming an adult, I wanted to put everything into its smallest configuration, uh,
Mm.
to the extent that I considered living in a van. And the joke in our early marriage was that we could buy a van and live in that. And where would I store my books? It would have to be in in some kind of a bookshelf, book rack that wouldn't dump with every jostle. Um, and what would we do if we had a larger family and that kind of thing? But I still find myself wanting to uh, put everything in its smallest configuration. Compact. Um, I'm not the kind of guy who looks for an expansive layout or whatever, though I can appreciate it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's funny how I tend to have an instinct towards um, compacting things.
Mm,
I think
that's
you live
interesting.
a humble, he naturally gravitates towards humble or frugal, or, my mom has to tell him when he should get a new car. My
Yeah.
mom has to tell him, like, you can buy the
Buy some
expensive
socks.
coffee or something, buy some socks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like, but the humble part too, I feel like out of all of your side of the family, all your siblings, and I feel like you're well liked the most, in my opinion,
Mm.
because I think you are the most humble, and so even other people talking to you and they feel like they can connect with you better, and you weren't raised that way. Your siblings have stronger personalities and they're louder and or
Interesting.
distant or
Well, that's true, but I'd never associated that with humility. So thank you.
I do.
Thank you.
Mhm. I love this. I wish I could interview like two people who are family members every episode. I love to get like the take from both of you on each other too, which is really neat.
Yeah, maybe you
And
could
I
start
would,
doing that more.
yes, for sure. Before we move to the last question, I do want to actually say, Paul, I'm glad that you said what you said about poetry because I do believe that I agree with you. And poetry, when it is done well, can be very powerful for your mind and shifting your paradigm. And I think, Shira, I haven't had a lot of interaction with you at work, but the interaction that I've had has been so warm and welcoming and so consistent, but also just like I want to learn more about you, you know? And I I find it just such a breath of fresh air and I don't know like what your thoughts on poetry are, but I do feel like you're like your name is very powerful and very strong. So I'm really glad that you said what you said, Paul.
Well, I think there's a creativity
Yeah.
um, that that well, I look at some of the poetry in Scripture, both Jeremiah's Lamentation, Psalm 119, some of the other passages where uh, you you find a structure, and because of the discipline of following the structure, the thoughts are not compressed directly, but uh, uh, structured to mean something, to convey a meaning that's both full in each passage, but taking on a different, a deeper meaning because it's following that structure and building towards something.
Yeah.
And so I find it very interesting to watch your life, your decisions, um, the discontent with certain things where you go into high gear to find something that works better for you, for your family, and so on. And it's um, it may seem less poetic because we're so concerned with rhyming in English, but
But he has a creative aspect to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Think outside the box.
the nuance of the expression folded into another one. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Awesome. All right. My last question. So, when I first started this podcast about a year and a half ago, I wanted to know what books, like famous books, were saying about the significance of names. And so I just thought, why not start with the best-selling book of all time, which happens to be the Bible? And the more and more that I'm reading the Bible, I've read the Bible my whole life. And up until a few years ago, I didn't realize how many times it mentioned somebody's name changing, whether it was Jesus changing somebody's name, God, or somebody changing their own name. And a few examples, like in Genesis, God told Abram that he was to change his name to Abraham and his wife's name Sarai to Sarah. In the New
Mhm.
Testament, Saul changed his name to Paul. And there's a lot of other examples, but I'm just curious. I would love to know each of your opinions about what do you think the significance is of the fact that the Bible even mentioned that their names were changed instead of just going straight to the new name and not mentioning the old name.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that as generation after generation, we progress and history becomes further and further back. We don't look at the meaning of things as much as hundreds or thousands of years ago. So to me, I feel like, a lot of times people do change significantly. They might live one way and then realize one day, oh my goodness, this is not how I want to live, and they change it. And so part of me feels like we should, if we all of a sudden, you know, people, especially when they're younger, make a lot of stupid choices and whatever. And all of a sudden, if they kind of become a new person, their name could signify that. And then people would know, people would, oh, they're really taking this seriously, or they really, instead of them living one way, now they're living another way, and they're being intentional with it. I also think that if people looked up the meanings of things more often, some of the names out there, when I was trying to find names for my kids, some of the names I would look it up once we kind of decided. And
Mhm.
one of the names I really liked, and I was like, oh, I really like this. I think it's from the Bible, and I looked it up, and it meant like evil man or something. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to name my child that. Um, and then
Mhm.
one girl name that I looked up had it was like one who was perverted, or I was like, okay, I'm going to stay away from that too. Yeah, and maybe some people would say, well, I don't think it really matters what the meaning is. If you like the name, if you like how it sounds. But and maybe it's because of how I grew up, but I just think there's something to that. You should maybe know why you were named that. You should know if there's a meaning behind it. You should know. To me, it almost kind of signifies what your parents either wanted for you, or what they were thinking when they had you, or it just to me it means something, because you don't just randomly write a name down. You have to think about it. So
Yes.
to me, I feel like it means more than maybe what other people think. And I think that maybe the name, I feel like sometimes that's how people get their nicknames,
Oh,
is
Mhm.
they are doing, they're living their life, and then all of a sudden they maybe join, and I'm thinking like motorcycle games, where all of a sudden, like, there's a nickname. That's maybe not a good example, but all of a sudden there's a nickname, or all of a sudden you join a group of people, like sports. My son is in baseball, and so every kid on the baseball team has a nickname. And then one year they put the nicknames on the jerseys instead of their names. So
Mhm.
to me, I think it would be cool if we did more than that. Cool maybe isn't the right word. I think it would be impactful if we did more of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we find some nicknames in the Bible. For instance, Epaphroditus, I just learned today, was probably the same guy that we read of as Epaphras. Um, Probably his name was too long. Everybody called him Epaphras instead of Epaphroditus. Um, I think of, oh, not Ananias and Sapphira, it's the other couple, Aquila and Priscilla. Yeah. And Paul, several times her name is mentioned as Priscilla, which in Greek is Priskulon. But then he calls her Prisca. Prisca is obviously a nickname. It's a shortened form, and it's like saying Prissy, or like they do with sissy, that kind of thing, which shows a lot more familiarity. I think of when Jesus changed Peter's name. Let's see, Shimon, Simon, and he said, "But your name shall be Kepha," which is actually Caiaphas, but Kepha means stone, and Simon, Shimon, was a reed, and the idea was a reed shaken in the wind, someone who could be back and forth, that kind of thing, and his change of character because of being with Jesus for so long, 3 years or whatever, and then launching out as an adult spiritually. He became very, very solid, very substantial. And then, there are others like when Naomi came back to Israel, and Ruth had joined her, treat me not to leave you. She said, "Don't call me Naomi," which is sweet and pleasant, a nice aspect or whatever. "Call me Mara, bitter." And the truth is that her life as sweet and pleasant as Naomi brought Ruth into Israel to be the great grandmother, I think, of David. Married Boaz, and then can't remember, Solomon. No, what was it? Solomon. Okay, and then Jesse, and then David. So too often they didn't appreciate what God was doing in them, through them, using them as they were named. There was somebody else that I thought of as well, that the name Jesus. It's actually Joshua, Yehoshua. He was the understudy of Moses, Moshe, and he was so powerful that in the 6th century AD or CE, there were pillars marked with the inscription, "We are those who fled from the face of Joshua the robber, the son of Nun," because he had chased the Canaanites out of the land according to what Moses had commanded, what God had commanded Moses. And so Joshua is this important person, and the name shows up in Hebrew as Yehoshua, which is what, the salvation of the Lord, I think. And so after a while, that's shortened, squeezed together, and becomes Yeshua. So we find the high priest coming back from Babylon. He is called Yeshua in Ezra 5:2. And then, of course, it's more common in the Second Temple period. And the Joshua that we know as Jesus is called Yeshua, which then goes through a series of languages, and it gets an S stuck on the end, and gets a J instead of an I, and all that stuff. So anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, and throughout the Bible too, it a lot of times it'll say what the person's name is, and then it'll say
Mhm.
the meaning. So it definitely was.
Yeah.
The 12 tribes of
That's
Israel
true.
are a good illustration of that. Yosef, Joseph, means added. And it was, of course, the Lord has added to me.
Hmm.
And
Oh, I thought it was just, only Mary and Jesus were needed in the story of Jesus being born, and then they just added Joseph to the units.
Right.
Is that not?
Wrong, Joseph.
Oh,
So you find out he's more than a bean counter. He is the math guy of the family, watching the inventory, watching the profits. Really uh, being his dad's right hand man to keep his brothers honest and all the rest of it. And of course, they hated him for it. And then when he gets to into Egypt and is taken advantage of so badly as a slave, he becomes the overseer, the administrator of the prison that he was housed in, and then he he interprets Pharaoh's dream and becomes the um, comptroller, the guy who handles all the reserves of produce and everything to build up a store in Egypt so that um, they have enough food and um, makes Pharaoh even more powerful in the land through it. But the interesting thing is that when the 12 tribes are assigned a place in the land, um, his two sons are given equal place with his brothers. And so the Levites become a separate tribe, a 13th tribe as a spiritual resource. And Ephraim and Manasseh take up pretty good chunks of the land, uh, for their tribes, whatever. And um, Ephraim is given a high blessing, which Paul actually alludes to when he says the fullness of the Gentiles in Genesis 48. Abram blesses Ephraim and says, uh, through him will be the fullness of the nations. So it's very interesting to see how the names actually show up in a way that we would never expect. That he added another tribe.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. So interesting. I love that. I love how you can just learn so much just by studying the meaning of a word. It's so
Mm.
amazing.
hopefully you don't ever get a negative nickname that then sticks, and people just always call you the negative name.
Well,
Right.
Hopefully the positive, good one just always sticks.
I've always wondered about Caleb. Caleb is dog.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah,
dogs are, I love dogs, so
Yeah. That's
they've
why I
been.
always look up the symbolism of the name too, because I have this episode. I would encourage you to listen to it. It's with the name Cameron, which means crooked nose. And that was the most challenging and most interesting research I've ever done. And it was such a good interview. And yeah, it's very interesting because, yeah, sometimes when you just look at the surface level definition, you're just like, what in the world? So. Oh, I loved both of your answers. Thank you so much for sharing that information with me. I really appreciate it.
yeah,
And those
absolutely.
were all my questions. Did you have any questions for me?
Um, yes, your name. Uh,
Yeah,
so it's kind of a takeoff on Jamie, or
kind of. Yeah. So, what I've researched and what I've come to find out is that, well, it derives from Hebrew roots of James or Jacob, and it's the feminine version, essentially. And it's interesting because when I was younger, like I really didn't like it. I had heard that like Jacob meant like trickster a little bit, and that didn't really sit well with me. But then I also found the definition supplanter.
Hmm.
And I thought that that was a very interesting word because at first I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what supplanter means. When I saw that it meant to turn over, there's a couple definitions for supplanter, but when it means to turn over, my interpretation of turning something over is to essentially, like, if you had a piece of paper and you turn it over, you're looking at it from a different angle, you're looking at it from a different viewpoint. And you're essentially, depending on what you're turning over, you're shifting your paradigm. You could in a certain context. So I tell people that my translation is that my name means paradigm shifter. And when I really just sat with that for a long time, it made so much sense to me because of how analytical I am and how I love to zoom out and look at the big picture and then see things from all perspectives. And I was like, this is making so much sense to me as to why I am the way that I am because I struggled with who I was for such a long time up until a few years ago when I was really close to dying from long COVID, and I just kind of had to have like a really significant time alone to really understand who I am and who God sees me as, and that's what I came up with. So
Wow.
Yikes. Yeah, I think that too, that could be just I feel like the more I learn and the more that I feel like I need to learn so much more, I feel like there's always two or maybe three or four ways of looking at things. And I think that some people will want to look at, or they'll say things or they'll view things in a negative way. And then some people will say things in a positive way. And I think that sometimes through history, depending on who recorded history or who even put in the meanings of things or even translated languages, depending on who it was, they could have maybe given it a negative connotation. So when you said, you looked up one meaning and it meant trickster, maybe that person or at some point it was like, oh, Jama means tricky. Whereas if you use the other definition of the paradigm shifter, um, somebody positively could look at it and say, yeah, but this person does more research or looks at things on a deeper level or asks more questions, and then can also sometimes you can discover more, and other people say, well, right, like I said, tricky, and it's like, well, no, that's not tricky, you know what I mean? It's almost like
yeah,
there's several ways of looking at things
Well, I've
for everything.
I've always thought of Jacob. I shouldn't say always. For decades now, I've thought of Jacob as opportunistic
hmm.
in a positive way, um, entrepreneurial,
Mm,
looking for an opportunity and taking it.
Hmm.
Um, when you look at, for instance, the birthing that um, inspired the name initially, um, he reached out and grabbed
mm.
what was he,
Esau.
or did he put his hand out and they put a ribbon on it? Anyway, no,
Heel grabber of
he
Esau.
was heel. Yeah, he was grabbing the
Yeah.
heel, which shows a drive to succeed, to improve, to move ahead.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at Jacob's life, what he did, for instance, with Laban, when he saw that Laban was cheating him, was taking advantage of him, um, he looked for ways to improve his lot, and eventually he moved out with quite a group of sheep and goats and so on, um, and and then continued uh, in spite of all the setbacks that he experienced throughout his life. Uh, he kept pushing for um, a better thing, a better way, and um, he was he was determined. He was assertive in pursuing God.
Mm-hmm.
That's the impressive thing. He wasn't like Esau, who had no interest um, in pursuing God, whereas Jacob did,
Mm-hmm.
and And so what looks like a trickster is really someone who wants something beyond himself and is not afraid to go after it.
Yeah. Not okay with taking what people try to just put on you, but just trying to expand, trying to be creative and look beyond, Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, very cool. I think Jane was very pretty. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's really pretty. So that was my initial thought.
Thank you.
Still want to see it in Hebrew letters.
You can look up maybe right now. Who knows? You never know. Google on the cloud.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, this
Well,
has
thank
been
you,
so
Jana.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so
It's
much
good.
for your time.
Yeah, and you can ask him any questions anytime. He's
I
just
love it.
a phone call away.
Yeah. I love talking about this kind of stuff. Matter of fact, when I hear somebody with an accent, I want to find out where they're from. If I have an idea, because of the accent, that I would have some idea of what part of the world they're from, I'll ask them that, and I'm not afraid to be embarrassed. And if I run across an unusual name, I'll ask, where it comes from, how they were named that way.
And then you'll try to speak some of the language if you know some of the
If I know some of the words.
So teenage years were very
embarrassing.
Yeah.
I love it. It was such a pleasure to speak with you both, and just thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe or follow the podcast on your favorite platform. Your support helps me continue bringing you meaningful conversations with remarkable guests. Don't forget to tune in next time for more insightful discussions and inspiring stories. Until then, thank you for listening, and keep striving to make a positive impact wherever you are. And don't forget to tap into the meaning of your own name to find a deeper sense of confidence in your purpose.